Welcome to Episode 4 of Workplace English Masterclass. In today's lesson, we're going to learn how to lead meetings professionally in English. Meetings are a crucial part of workplace communication, and strong meeting leadership can help teams stay organized, productive, and engaged. Whether you're leading a project update, a team discussion, or a client meeting, the phrases and techniques in this lesson will help you communicate with confidence. Let's begin. Before we learn how to lead meetings, let's understand why meeting skills matter. A good meeting leader performs several important roles. The first responsibility is to keep discussions focused. In many workplaces, conversations can easily move away from the main topic. A strong meeting leader helps participants stay focused on the objective and agenda. For example, if the meeting is about project updates, the leader ensures that the discussion remains relevant to the project, rather than unrelated topics. The second responsibility is to encourage participation. Successful meetings are not one-person presentations. They involve contributions from multiple team members. A good meeting leader invites opinions, encourages discussion, and ensures that everyone has an opportunity to contribute. The third responsibility is to manage time effectively. Meetings should start and end on time whenever possible. A professional leader keeps discussions moving and ensures that sufficient time is allocated for each agenda item. The fourth responsibility is to clarify decisions. At the end of a discussion, participants should understand exactly what has been decided. For example, a meeting leader might say, "We've agreed to launch the campaign next month." This helps eliminate confusion and misunderstandings. The final responsibility is to build team confidence. When meetings are organized, respectful, and productive, team members feel more comfortable sharing ideas and participating in discussions. A confident team is often a more collaborative and successful team. These 5 skills form the foundation of effective meeting leadership. The way you open a meeting sets the tone for the entire discussion. Let's look at some useful phrases. Our first phrase is, "Thank you for joining today." This is a professional way to welcome participants and acknowledge their time. For example, "Thank you for joining today's project update meeting." This creates a positive and respectful atmosphere. Our second phrase is, "Let's get started." This phrase signals that the meeting is officially beginning. Rather than waiting awkwardly or jumping straight into discussion, this phrase helps create structure. The third phrase is, "Today's objective is." An objective is the main goal of the meeting. For example, "Today's objective is to review our quarterly sales performance." This helps participants understand the purpose of the discussion. Our final phrase is, "We'll begin by discussing." This phrase introduces the first agenda item. For example, "We'll begin by discussing project updates before moving on to upcoming deadlines." A strong opening creates clarity, professionalism, and direction from the very beginning of the meeting. An agenda acts as a roadmap for the meeting. Without an agenda, discussions can quickly become disorganized. Let's look at some useful agenda-setting phrases. The first phrase is, "Here's today's agenda." This phrase introduces the discussion topics for the meeting. For example, "Here's today's agenda: project updates, client feedback, and next month's targets." The second phrase is, "First, we'll discuss." This phrase introduces the first topic. For example, "First, we'll discuss the progress of our marketing campaign." The third phrase is, "Then we'll move on to." This helps transition smoothly between discussion points. For example, "Then we'll move on to customer feedback and improvement strategies." The final phrase is, "Finally, we'll review." This phrase signals the last discussion point. For example, "Finally, we'll review our action items and deadlines." A clear agenda helps participants stay focused and ensures that important topics are covered efficiently. A successful meeting encourages participation from everyone. Let's explore some useful phrases. The first phrase is, "What are your thoughts?" This is a simple and effective way to invite opinions. For example, What are your thoughts on the proposed timeline? This encourages discussion and makes team members feel valued. The second phrase is, would anyone like to add something? This phrase invites additional comments or ideas. For example, we've heard several suggestions already. Would anyone like to add something? The third phrase is, let's hear from the team. This phrase encourages broader participation. It's particularly useful when only a few people are speaking. For example, let's hear from the team before making a final decision. Our final phrase is, does anyone have suggestions? This encourages problem solving and idea generation. For example, does anyone have suggestions for improving customer satisfaction? The best meetings are collaborative. These phrases help ensure that everyone has an opportunity to contribute. One of the most challenging parts of leading a meeting is managing the discussion effectively. Sometimes participants go off topic. Sometimes one person speaks too much. Sometimes the conversation becomes repetitive. As a meeting leader, it's your responsibility to keep the discussion productive and focused. For example, if someone introduces an unrelated topic, you might say, "That's an interesting point. Let's come back to that later." This acknowledges their contribution while keeping the meeting on track. If one person is dominating the discussion, you could say, "Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Let's hear from someone else." This encourages participation from the rest of the team. As the meeting progresses, you may also need to move the discussion forward. Useful phrases include, "Let's stay focused on today's objective," or "Let's move on to the next item on the agenda." Remember, effective meeting leadership is not about controlling the conversation. It's about guiding the discussion so that everyone can contribute and the meeting achieves its purpose. Throughout a meeting, it's important to summarize key points and decisions. Summarizing helps ensure that everyone leaves the meeting with the same understanding. Let's look at some useful phrases. The first phrase is, "to summarize." This phrase is useful when you want to briefly review the discussion. For example, to summarize, we've discussed the project timeline, budget requirements, and next steps. This helps participants remember the most important points. Our second phrase is, "we've agreed that." This phrase is used when a decision has been made. For example, "We've agreed that the marketing campaign will begin next month." Using this phrase clearly communicates decisions and reduces misunderstandings. The third phrase is, "the key takeaway is." A key takeaway is the most important message or lesson from the discussion. For example, the key takeaway is that customer feedback should guide our next improvements. This helps focus attention on what matters most. Our final phrase is, "our next steps are." This phrase is used to explain what will happen after the meeting. For example, our next steps are to finalize the proposal and schedule a follow-up meeting. This creates accountability and ensures everyone understands their responsibilities. Summarizing is one of the most important meeting leadership skills because it creates clarity, alignment, and direction. Let's look at a realistic workplace scenario. Imagine you're leading a project meeting. You begin by saying, "Thank you for joining today." Notice how this creates a welcoming and professional atmosphere. Next, you say, "Today's objective is to review project progress." This immediately communicates the purpose of the meeting. Participants know exactly why they are there and what will be discussed. You then continue with, "Let's begin with project updates." This phrase smoothly transitions into the first agenda item. These three simple phrases create structure, clarity, and professionalism. Many ineffective meetings start without a clear objective. As a result, participants become confused and discussions lose focus. A strong meeting leader provides direction from the very beginning. Before your next meeting, try using these three phrases. They can instantly make your meeting sound more professional and organized. Let's look at another workplace scenario. The meeting leader asks, "What are your thoughts?" This is a simple but powerful question. It encourages participation and demonstrates that everyone's opinions are valued. An employee responds, "I believe we should improve communication." Notice that the employee uses a professional phrase rather than simply saying, "We need better communication." The meeting leader then replies, "That's a great suggestion." This response is important because it acknowledges the contribution positively. Good meeting leaders create an environment where employees feel comfortable sharing ideas. Even if a suggestion isn't ultimately used, it is important to recognize participation respectfully. When team members feel heard, they are more likely to contribute in future meetings. This often leads to stronger collaboration and better decision-making. Now let's discuss some common meeting mistakes. The first mistake is having no agenda. Without an agenda, participants may not understand the purpose of the meeting. Discussions can become disorganized and valuable time may be wasted. The second mistake is a lack of participation. If only 1 or 2 people speak throughout the meeting, valuable ideas may never be shared. The third mistake is failing to summarize decisions. Without summaries, participants may leave with different understandings of what was discussed. The fourth mistake is failing to establish clear next steps. People may leave the meeting unsure of their responsibilities. To avoid these problems, remember 3 key principles: structure, engagement, clarity. A successful meeting has a clear purpose, encourages participation, and ends with clear action items. These 3 elements can dramatically improve the effectiveness of any workplace meeting. Now it's your turn to practice. One of the best ways to improve your workplace English is through active speaking practice. Let's work through these meeting phrases together. The first phrase is, "Today's objective is." Remember that an objective is the main goal of the meeting. For example, today's objective is to review our sales performance for the previous quarter. This phrase helps participants understand the purpose of the meeting immediately. The second phrase is, "What are your thoughts?" This is one of the most useful questions a meeting leader can ask. It encourages participation and invites team members to share their opinions. For example, "What are your thoughts on the proposed marketing strategy?" The third phrase is, "To summarize." This phrase helps you review the most important points that have been discussed. For example, "To summarize, we've agreed to launch the project next month and finalize the budget by Friday." Summaries help ensure everyone has the same understanding. The final phrase is, "Our next steps are." This phrase focuses on action and accountability. For example, "Our next steps are to prepare the proposal and schedule a follow-up meeting." A successful meeting should always end with clear next steps. Now, pause the video and try completing each sentence using examples from your own workplace. The more you practice these phrases, the more natural they will become. Congratulations on completing episode 4 of Workplace English Masterclass. Today, you've learned several important skills that can help you lead meetings more effectively and professionally. Let's quickly review what we've covered. First, you learned how to open a meeting professionally using clear and welcoming language. A strong opening helps establish structure and creates a positive atmosphere. Next, you learned how to set an agenda. An agenda acts as a roadmap and helps keep discussions organized and productive. You also learned how to invite participation. Successful meetings encourage contributions from all team members, rather than relying on only 1 or 2 voices. After that, we explored strategies for managing discussions effectively. This includes keeping conversations focused, encouraging balanced participation, and moving the meeting forward when necessary. Finally, you learned how to summarize key points and establish clear next steps. These skills help ensure that everyone leaves the meeting with a shared understanding of decisions and responsibilities. Remember, effective meeting leadership is not about speaking the most. It's about guiding the discussion, encouraging participation, and helping the team achieve its objectives. Try using at least 1 or 2 of today's phrases in your next workplace meeting. With practice, these skills will become more natural and help you communicate with greater confidence. In episode 5, we'll explore how to agree and disagree professionally without sounding rude, aggressive, or dismissive. This is one of the most important communication skills in any workplace because disagreements are inevitable, but how we express them can strengthen or damage professional relationships. Thank you for learning with everyday English treats. I'll see you in the next lesson.